Hey friends, it's Melanie. Welcome to this week's What's for Dinner. It's a very special collab with some friends of mine, hosted by Tamara at Southern Wife Everyday Life. All of our recipes are going to be from some of our favorite cookbooks. I'll be sure to leave a link to the playlist and a link to Tamara's channel in my description box. So let's get to cooking. The first recipe I'm making is for a corn salad. You're going to need 2 cans of white shoe peg corn, rinsed and drained, a red pepper, a green pepper, a red onion, chopped tomatoes, and some Italian dressing. You just want to cut everything up in pretty small pieces about the size as the corn. The cookbook that I'm using for this recipe is one from my church. It was called Favorite Family Recipes, and it was put out by our MOPS, which is a Mothers of Preschoolers group, back in 2002. And I have a lot of favorite recipes out of this book. But you're just going to chop everything up in small pieces and put it in a bowl, put your Italian dressing in with it, mix it up, refrigerate it 3 or 4 hours, and that's all there is to this salad. And it lasts for several days in the refrigerator. And I used canned tomatoes because I am not a good tomato chopper. I end up with just a big mess. So if you do use canned diced tomatoes, just be sure and rinse them thoroughly before you put them in. This is great as a side. It's great to use even as a relish. This is a tasty treat. And the black beans were not in the recipe, but this just was screaming out to me for black beans. That is a picture of the book that I've taken this recipe from, and I'll be sure to leave you all of the recipes in the description box. The next recipe I'm making is hamburger pie. This is a recipe that I have never made before, but I was very much looking forward to it. It was put into this cookbook by the granddaughter of my first grade teacher, so I could not wait to try it. The first thing that you're going to do is mix up your cornbread mix. And evidently, I can't read or convert measurements, but it did say 2 cups of cornbread mixture. And I used 2 boxes, so I had way too much cornbread on the top of my casserole. But you're just going to mix that up according to the directions. I do this while I'm browning my ground beef. Put your peppers and your onion in there. Get it all browned up. Drain off any grease that you have. And then you'll add in your sugar and your salt and your chili powder. Then you will stir in those tomatoes and beans and simmer that for about 10 minutes. And then you're going to pour that into a prepared baking dish, and then you're going to top it with your cornbread mixture. And this will just bake for about 20 minutes at 400 degrees. I will say this recipe was still very delicious, even though I messed it up by using too much Jiffy mix. I took some of the meat and bean mixture out from underneath some of that cornbread and put it on the top of mine, and it turned out just fine. But if you make it, please just use 1 box of Jiffy, and I would even add maybe some tomato paste to this. It had a good flavor, but it could have used maybe just a little bit more tomato flavor for my taste. So I may add tomato paste and just a little bit more water the next time that I make this, but I will definitely make this again. The flavor of this hamburger pie and the corn salad together is such a wonderful mix. The tang and the savoriness of each of these dishes complement each other so well. Both of these dishes would be great to take to a potluck or even a cookout. One of them is nice and warm and savory. The other one is cool and tangy, and they just complement each other so well. And I served mine up with just some cut up cucumbers and broccoli. And for dessert, I wanted to bring you a gooey butter cake recipe from the Lady and Sons cookbook. And the first thing we're going to make is the crust, and you use 1 yellow cake mix, 1 egg, and 1 stick of butter melted. You're just going to combine all that really well in a bowl, and then you'll pat it down and spread it out in a greased 9x13 casserole dish. In her cookbook, she says that this is the #1 choice in her restaurant. And you're not going to pre-bake your crust. You just prepare the crust and then put the filling right on top of it. I did want to give you so many different variations that you can use on this recipe. This is one reason that I love this recipe so much. The filling is just cream cheese and powdered sugar, butter, eggs. And in the holidays, you can put pumpkin pie in the filling. You can put a can of that in there and change out your spices. Instead of using vanilla, use some cinnamon and nutmeg in it. At Christmas, I've made it with a red velvet cake. That's beautiful. You can add crushed pineapple to the filling. You could use a lemon cake for your crust and put lemon juice and zest in the filling. Probably the yummiest is the chocolate cake, and then add about a cup of peanut butter into this filling. Now for this filling, you'll need an 8-ounce cream cheese softened. You'll need 16 ounces of powdered sugar, another stick of melted butter, vanilla, and 2 eggs. You're just going to mix that cream cheese, beat it up until it's all smooth, and then you'll add in your eggs and vanilla. Once you get all that incorporated really well, you're going to come back in with that stick of melted butter, mix it in, incorporate it very well. Then you're going to add in your powdered sugar. I do it about half at a time, and you're going to mix that up very well. Scrape down your sides, and then you're just going to spread this over this cake mixture. You're going to bake this for about 40 minutes, 40 to 50. It takes about 40 minutes in my oven. You want the center to be just a little bit gooey, so you have to be careful not to overbake this. You may think it's not done, but you just have to trust that it will set up. And it comes out so pretty and brown on top, and it's kind of fluffed up a little bit, but you'll see whenever it sits there just a little bit, it compacts. and you can just slice that up so easily. And I'll show you here. I love the corner piece. I always like to be the first one in and get that corner piece. But this is a wonderful, rich dessert. It's something different than chocolate, which is good to always find something a little bit different. So many good things you can do with it. I hope you've enjoyed this week's What's for Dinners. All these were hearty, easy, and so good. I thank Tamara at Southern Wife Everyday Life for hosting this cookbook collaboration. Don't forget to check down in my description box. You'll find all the recipes and a link to the playlist. Until I see you next time, love from my kitchen.